Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. Thank you so much for joining us for our pre-recorded live broadcast today at the Soligent Warehouse in Sacramento, our grand opening. We've got a lot of amazing customers here today, as well as awesome vendor partners. Sacramento, California, 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125. Come check out the facilities. In addition, you want to be a Soligent dealer. The advantages that come with that, delivery to the job site. In addition to that, you can also get your products picked up on will call right here at the warehouse. We have warehouses around the country. Go to soligent.net to find out more. But here today, especially, want to thank our Sacramento team, all of the folks in the warehouse. Fantastic. Coquise and your entire team there in the warehouse doing an amazing job. Went in and got the tour earlier. Stop on by. You can get your own guided tour. It is a gigantic warehouse because we at Soligent are the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. We want to make sure that we are fully stocked and ready to rock for you and your customers and their needs. 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125 here in Sacramento. Welcome to the Beyond Emissions podcast. I'm Josh Brumm, Energy Storage Manager at Soligent, and your host here of the Beyond Emissions podcast, which is available here at the Soligent YouTube channel. Like this video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment down below. You know the routine. What does Beyond Emissions mean to you? Be a part of that ongoing conversation. Also, as well, would you like to learn more about energy storage? Just email me, storage@soligent.net, and we're happy to help. An amazing broadcast today that we're having such an advantage, right? We have an advantage that we have so many amazing customers and vendor partners from around the world. Hey, come on in, join us. Come on in, sit down. We're doing the podcast. Happy to have you here. So thankful. And forgive me, if you don't mind, pass the microphone on over. My name is Josh Brumm. I'm sorry about that. I'm Energy Storage Manager. If you talk right up there real close. And what's your name?
Nate Tyler. My company's Net Electric. We're based in Oakland Bay Area.
Oh, Tyler? Is that
Tyler's last name?
And what's your first name? I'm sorry?
Nathan Tyler.
Nathan Tyler.
Yes.
And where are you at out of Oakland?
We're right there downtown Oakland. We have office Oakland, San Francisco, and one in the city of Richmond.
Awesome. And forgive me, what's the name of the business again?
Net Electric. Net Electric.
Net Electric.
In Oakland, Richmond, San Francisco.
Great. And for our listeners that are tuning into the Beyond Emissions by Soligent podcast, if they'd like to contact you and your business in the Bay Area, how would they get in touch with you?
The best number to reach us at is 866-334-2400.
Excellent.
And our email address, info at netelectric, one word, .biz.
biz. B-I-Z.
Yeah,
awesome.
biz.
And the solar biz, is it pretty crazy now with NEM 3, Nathan?
Actually, it's gotten a little bit easier to work with that PG&E rush now gone and over with. So now we're mostly concentrating on the battery storage and so on, and really trying to educate the customers the advantage of getting the battery now, and that they really didn't miss out on anything because of NEM 2 sunset. So right now it's a little bit calmer, a little bit more manageable for us and so on. But we're always looking to get more sales and keep going.
How's that conversation going with your customers in regards to explaining the benefits of storage under NEM 3, Nathan?
It's a long, very, very detailed conversation because they're so, I guess they're educated on NEM 2. And all they know is that sunset is gone, and now it's not even worth doing it. So now it's having to re-educate, show them new ideas and ways that they can save, and how this battery backup can work in their favor, and still be, I guess, a complement to their existing system. So that's kind of how we do things.
Oh, because there's so many more advantages to storage besides just having battery backup. There's a real ROI for solar. I mean, previously with arbitrage, but now under NEM 3, instead of getting back those wholesale rates, at 8 cents a kilowatt hour versus the retail rates before under NEM 2, storage can now help them self-consume that energy and get that ROI. The ROI is still there as long as they use storage, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Folks, Nathan, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you don't mind, but we're going to plug your business throughout this entire episode that we're just getting started recording today. It'll be on in a couple of weeks here, pre-recorded at the Sacramento grand opening. Thank you for being here. Nathan from Net Electric. Go to email info@netelectric.biz or give them a call at 866-334-2400. I hope it's all right if I continue to announce your business throughout the podcast today.
Please do. Thank you for having me.
You too. Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
Awesome. Thank you. God bless. Nathan from Net Electric. Installers, you heard it right there. Storage is the key to helping customers thrive under NEM 3 in California. And my next guest on the Beyond Emissions podcast, how cool was that? Alex Lepore joining us here on the Beyond Emissions podcast from Fortress Power Energy Storage Solutions, available here at Soligent. Alex, enjoying the day so far? That was impromptu. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Right on, man. That's awesome. Was that impromptu, but how appropriate, correct? Welcome to the show.
Josh, it's great to be on, and I want to thank the Soligent team. I want to thank you and all the other sponsors here for this fantastic event. That was very impromptu. That was something I was not expecting, but I think what you're seeing is exactly what Nate was talking about. The need for energy storage in this new NEM 3 world is more important now than it's ever been in the last 5, 10, 15 years of these battery-based systems. So from Fortress Power's point of view, just like Soligent, we want to provide the maximum value to all of our partners and ultimately take this thing to the next level.
Next level. ROI is huge. Return on investment for those of you in Rio Linda. It's important that you understand that solar is not just, okay, it's still very viable.
Right.
If you pair it with energy storage, but you've got to have the right strategy.
That's right.
Under NEM 3 in California to make that work. I've kind of, figured out that, and I could be wrong. I'm energy storage manager here at Soligent, so I hope I'm not wrong. I think I'm right. This is just from feedback from customers and seeing and doing some research in the market, that there's really 3 types of customer strategies under NEM 3 to be successful to get a return on investment. Customer number 1, not really needing the battery so much for battery backup, primarily just for the return on investment, to discharge when the rates are high or at opportune times during the day, or export if needed, if it's appropriate, and not necessarily having a big battery backup. The second customer is going to use the battery for emergency loads only, fridge, freezer, lights, stuff like that, Wi-Fi, basic emergency only stuff. But, there's battery backup available and ROI savings. The third type of customer is going to be whole home backup, or if there is a fourth, off-grid. Now, that is where I think people need to kind of make a big adjustment in their thinking, is with that type of customer. Most customers, tell me if I'm wrong, Alex, they're used to just, installers are used to just averaging their average daily energy usage, dividing by 5 hours of peak sun. Here's the PV array that we need, and on to the next. But if you're giving someone or selling someone what they think whole home backup is, that average thing doesn't work, because their average might be 40 kilowatt hours a day of energy usage. But during August or July, when the 4 kW air conditioner runs a total of 10 hours a day, that's a 40 additional kilowatt hours a day. That customer might need 80 kilowatt hours in July or August. So if they have been sold whole home backup and it's not properly sized correctly using the math on their max day usage, not averages, and they've just, if it's not done correctly, they're going to be, short on energy when they think they have whole home backup. It's about setting the right expectations. What do you think? Am I correct about my customer types and my concern about that third type whole home backup? What are your thoughts?
I definitely believe you have the customer types correct. And last time I was on the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, we talked a lot about customization, right? And throughout these different customer types, customization applies across the board. For whole home backup, even more so, and in terms of importance, making sure managing the expectations of what this battery can do. If you sell a whole home backup solution, you're going to need more than 5 or 10 kilowatt hours, right? You're going to need something that's more substantial, that's going to be there to last, run for a long time, and deliver as it's supposed to deliver the power to the home load. So one thing I think it's important, whether it's other battery manufacturers or installers, educating the end user on, this is why I'm recommending this large battery size, right? Because they may be used to generators, right? And generators are a lot lower costing and can give you a whole home backup. But the thing that's synonymous, sizing, right? Sizing, designing, and customization, no matter how you look at power, everybody's home is different. Every person is different. You have to be aware of that when you speak with your clients. And I think that's the big thing as a manufacturer. We have a lot of education, a lot of webinars and podcasts just like this where we talk with industry professionals like Josh, and we talk about how do you go about it? What have you seen success with? How do we help manage the expectations? Because ultimately a win for one person means a win for all of us, right?
Go to fortresspower.com and you can find some of those trainings and resources available. Alex Lepore with us from Fortress Power Energy Storage Solutions, available here at Soligent. Click on the link below to find out more. Soligent, the largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. We are here for you, and we're actually right now, you hear all of the commotion in the background. That's tacos, that's drinks, that's refreshments, that's lots of people having fun and doing a great job. You are too. Great job. Thank you so much for the drinks. And I got a water and a Dr. Pepper earlier. And Mike Tardell brought me some tacos earlier. Thank you so much, Mike. By the way, Mike is an amazing rep for us here. And check this out. If you want to do business with Soligent, click on the link below. Become a dealer today. We are at the Sacramento grand opening, 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125. In Sacramento, California. Get your will call pickup here, delivery scheduled as well. Alex Lepore from Fortress Power with us. By the way, Alex, we had Nathan on from Net Electric from the Oakland Bay Area, 866-334-2400. Give Nate a call or email him info@netelectric.biz, netelectric.biz. Nathan was bringing up, a return on investment for the customer under NEM 3. And I think this conversation of customization that you brought up is so important to what he kind of started this entire broadcast about, conversation about. Like what is most important? It's about what's right for each customer. Customization. Talk a little bit about that. You mentioned whole home backup. But what if I don't need whole home backup? I mean, what are you seeing as far as the customer types are concerned? If there's a percentage pie, how is that broken up? Are there more that are just wanting to save money on their bill and use the battery to discharge it for an ROI only versus emergency load backup versus whole home backup? I mean, what kind of percentages are there? Are they pretty even Steven? Or, what type of customers are making up that pie?
Depending on where you're located, right? If you're listening to the Beyond Emissions podcast and you're not in California, you may be thinking that the NEM 3.0 change is not relevant to you. Well, I can tell you, California, being a renewable energy leader, keeping an eye on the new legislation being passed, the new technology that's being developed and installed here is going to help you be better prepared, whether you're an installer getting into this crazy business, or if you're an end user, right, wanting to learn more about what is this thing of batteries. I'm a Philadelphia native. Batteries are not a big deal in Philadelphia, right? It's not like here in California where they have these different rebate programs and all sorts of other awesome programs you can get involved with. To answer your question about the customer split, I would say probably 60 to 65% of folks, they want a return on investment, right? They see this as an asset that they want to pay it back off within the 10 years of the warranty of the product, like Fortress Power's 10-year warranty at 8,000 cycles.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. Math time!
Let's do it out.
Yeah, let's bust out the calculator,
Yes,
Alex. Alex Lepore with us. We're going to do some math, folks. By the way, if you're in the solar or energy storage business, you're in the energy game. It's all about math. It's energy in versus energy out.
That's right.
The sooner that you embrace the math, the more successful you're going to be. Math is everything, right, Alex?
That's right. That's right. When it comes to designing, when it comes to seeing what you're getting when you purchase equipment, just like you'd go with a car, right? You go to purchase a car, you run the math. I urge everybody on every level of this business, do the math for what you're looking to do. If you're an installer, do the math. Help your end user do the math. If you're an end user, double check it, right? Working with certified installers along with platinum distributors like Soligent and the team here is going to help you educate. Education means more deployment. More deployment means we can achieve our goal of energy independence throughout the United States. It starts here, it starts local, right? It starts with small, and then it grows larger, and then we keep the momentum going.
The reason why I came back to the math part of it, Alex Lepore again with us here at Soligent, Sacramento Warehouse grand opening. By the way, the wind is going like crazy, but the balloons are in the air. Tacos, you can smell it. Oh man, got to thank our friends over at Paquita's Mexican Grill and
Yep.
Paquita's Mexican Grill.com. They have some amazing catering. Those carne asada tacos were
awesome.
Divine.
They
and
were
then refreshments, drinks. What a great time. 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125. Our Sacramento grand opening happening today during this pre-recording of the Beyond Emissions podcast. Stop on by 1790 Bell Avenue in Sacramento to the new Soligent Warehouse. Get your tour. And if you want to be a dealer, get will call pickup, delivery, you name it, we'll take care of you. Click on the link below to find out more. The reason why I dovetailed off into the math discussion is you mentioned at 80% depth of discharge, 8,000 cycles.
That's right.
Now, why is that important? Well, number one, and we'll talk a little bit about that. The chemistry, it lends to more life cycles. It's safer, lithium iron phosphate. That's what type of lithium chemistry is being used by Fortress Power.
Right.
So we'll go into that. But to talk about the math of it, if you're getting 8,000 life cycles, now you can kind of figure out what the lifetime per kilowatt hour cost is for your customer for their system versus the utility, right?
That's right, and you could also calculate theoretically how long that system is going to actually perform. A lot of these new technologies, these new LFP batteries, we could break it up as simple as this. 8,000 cycles, you cycle your battery once a day. For folks listening into the Beyond Emissions podcast, the cycle is essentially full charge to discharge to full charge. It's using that battery, right? 8,000 divided by 365 days a year, 17 years of life?
21.91 years of life.
Even better.
I memorized it.
I'm not a math guy, right?
I memorized it.
But
It's
21 years of life, that's almost double the amount of the warranty. But I always caution folks, that's a great number. That's very positive. It's very exciting. But you have to be aware, when we look at sizing these systems, sizing is another crucial aspect of getting that 8,000 cycles. Undersized systems, you get less life cycles, right? Oversized systems, maybe not too applicable, but that's why that sizing, designing, and customization aspect we spoke to earlier, imperative.
Yeah, and to maximize your life cycles, to get that 8,000 cycles or 21.91 years of life before you're at 70% of the remaining rated capacity, it makes sense to do that. And the way you do that is you oversize. Boy, this wind is crazy out here now. You oversize the battery system 20% larger than the customer's daily consumption.
That's right.
And how you do that is you figure out what is the total kilowatt hours of usable energy that the customer needs on a max use day, or whatever they're going to back up, or the amount of kilowatt hours they need to offset their bill by every day to get an ROI for their solar, whatever their goal is.
Right.
What is the total kilowatt hours of usable energy that customer needs? And then what you do is you take that number and you divide it by 0.8, that usable kilowatt hour number divided by 0.8, and then that increases that number by 20%. In other words, your battery is now going to be sized 20% larger than your customer's daily energy consumption need. Hence, you have planned ahead of time to have 80% depth of discharge or 8,000 cycles. But that's how you do it. You don't just go, oh, my customer needs 20 kilowatt hours, so I'm going to do 20 kilowatt hours of battery and just hope and pray it works. You're going to end up maybe getting, 5,000, 4,000, 6,000. That's 11 to 15 years of life expectancy for a customer that is making a 25-year investment, right? I mean, we need to properly size that up front, and again, it's all math. Add 20% by dividing your usable kilowatt hour number by 0.8. That'll give you the amount of energy storage you need to be at 80% depth of discharge, right?
And another way, you're exactly right in that thinking, and another way you can calculate how long that battery is going to last is with a term called energy throughput. Energy throughput is a megawatt hour value, not a kilowatt hour value, a megawatt hour value that will be in the warranty of a lithium iron phosphate battery manufacturer's warranty letter. They'll tell you we can basically expect a energy throughput of X megawatt hours. With Fortress Power's Evault Max, it's 88.8 megawatt hours. The definition of energy throughput is how much energy can be expected to be stored and delivered throughout the life of that battery. So further to your point, you can look at energy throughput in megawatt hours and do a pretty, I wouldn't say simple calculation, but do a calculation of 88.8 megawatt hours over 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 17 years. How many megawatt hours do you use per year or kilowatt hours? And then that can give you a really good idea of, as I invest in this system, and am I getting what I paid for?
Well, but you also have to, and I agree with that, but I add the caveat that if it's about return on investment,
right,
and you've sized it for 4,000 cycles, that means 10.95 years, you're going to be at 70% of the remaining capacity, meaning 30% is gone.
That's right.
Which means 30% on a daily basis is coming from your utility now, not from your storage anymore.
That's right.
And if that's the case, then you could have all the throughput in the world, but if you're shy 30% of what you need on a daily basis, it still kind of takes away some of that advantage.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend taking your usable kilowatt hour number, dividing it by 0.8, the increase by 20%, so the battery sized at 80% depth of discharge to get the maximum life expectancy. In the case of Fortress Power, Alex Lepore here with us today from Fortress Power, available at Soligent. Click on the link below to find out more. They offer 8,000 cycles at 80% depth of discharge before you get to that number, which is about 22 years of life almost.
That's right. That's right.
That's now your throughput number makes so much more sense if it's properly sized up front on a daily basis.
Yep. And with batteries, you can't forget the modularity of solutions. So you could start with, let's say, 15 kilowatt hours now. It's May 17th, May 18th of 2023 on the Beyond Emissions podcast. 6 months down the road, you can add on to that system, right? You may add on to that depending on who you are. Are you trying to move off the grid? Do you want to get close to whole home backup? Do you want to have a more aggressive return on investment as utilities are increasing their rates? PG&E just last week, I believe, went through a 17% increase in their utility rate structure. So utility rates are going up, battery prices are coming down. Where is that cross section? And that's where we need to live, right? We want to be right there so you get the maximum ROI if that's your desired goal, right? That's not for everybody, but it is for most people, 65%.
Right, yeah, and I love how you parted that. I know, I heard the phone in the background. I thought we were on PBS or something. Yeah, it would take your call if you'd like to make a pledge. No, Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas. I know it sounded just like one of those phones, right?
It did. I got a good giggle out of that.
And by the way, we make a pledge to you that this is supported by our viewers just like you at the Soligent YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell in the corner. Thank you for joining us today. Alex Lepore from Fortress Power. Let's break down some of that math. We talked about it before. I'm going to rely on your best guess. Again, this isn't specific to a project you're working on, people, listeners. This is just an example of how the math works.
Right.
And it's all about figuring out what is the lifetime per kilowatt hour cost that you're locking your customer into versus what they're paying right now. Then you can extrapolate that out, and you can figure out what your savings are and ROI and all of that without even having a software program, right? It's all math. How cool, right? I feel like a nerd. I'm sorry.
That's why we're here on the Beyond Emissions podcast, to nerd out about some batteries and talk about the things that matter to people, right? Doing the math, something you can do at home. You don't need fancy software to crunch a few numbers. And I think that's the message we can deliver to folks, is that a lot of this education, with the use of the internet, the use of good math, can allow you to take advantage of this. Learn for yourself, right? Learn for yourself. Take advantage of all the educational resources like Soligent that you guys provide.
Let's do it right now. I got out my calculator. We're going to figure out on a pretend system what the lifetime per kilowatt hour cost, and we'll apply the 30% federal tax credit to be fair, etc. Okay, so I'm going to rely on your very best guess, Alex. So for the math's sake, let's figure out what the upfront investment looks like. Let's just call it an 18.5 kilowatt hour Evault lithium iron phosphate fortress power battery. By the way, check it out. It's in stock here in Sacramento. Again, you can come get a tour and check it out. 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125 in Sacramento at our new Soligent Warehouse. Fortress Power's 18.5 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate battery can be stacked, expanded, etc. But we're just doing this for math's sake. So what would a retail cost be for something like that included in a system? And then let's call it I know you guys have your new 12K Fortress inverter, whole home inverter. Let's include that as well. So for that, a 12K Fortress inverter, and I don't know, let's say, boy, that wind is going crazy. Lots of fun here today. Ooh, I love it. And so for that Fortress customer that has the 12K inverter and the 18.5 kilowatt hour battery, and we're looking at a PV array, I don't know, make up a PV array size that you think would probably go good with that.
Let's do the average. The average in the U.S. right now is 9 to 10 kW. Right?
Okay, let's call it 10 kW. So 10 kW of PV,
right.
A 12K Fortress inverter, which by the way is a whole home backup inverter, has a 200 amp internal transfer switch.
That's right.
And pairs great with your Fortress batteries, plus an 18.5 kilowatt hour Evault. I know this is off the hip, but a best guess scenario for that combo of those three, what is that going to be about installed for a homeowner?
Probably $16,000 for the whole gambit.
How much again?
$16,000.
$16,000 for the battery, the 12K inverter, and 10 kW of
solar.
That seems a little low.
Not with the solar. The solar is separate. I don't know too much.
So 16K.
What modules we'd go with, but I can tell you for the battery and inverter, those materials, that is going to be around $16,000.
At 10 kW of PV, what would we assume? How much per watt? $2 a watt?
Yeah.
You figure? So let's call it 20,000 for that. So all right, let's go 20,000 plus 16. Some miscellaneous. Let's call that $30K, $30,000.
That's right.
To install this make-believe system, okay, for a homeowner. Homeowner's cost is what we're talking. 10 kW PV array, 12K whole home Fortress power inverter, 18.5 kilowatt hour Evault lithium iron phosphate Fortress power battery. We're going to say that cost about $30,000.
Yes, sir.
So now what we need to do, we know what the upfront cost is. And by the way, let's subtract the 30% federal tax credit. So take 10 grand off of that.
Correct.
So now once you minus the 30% FTC, that equals an actual $20,000 upfront investment by the customer, right?
Right.
Okay. Tell me if I'm wrong at any point in time here. Alex Lepore from Fortress Power with us on the Beyond Emissions podcast. Sacramento grand opening, 1790 Bell Avenue, 125 is the suite number. Soligent, the largest pure play solar distributor in the Americas. 20,000, 10 kW PV array, 12 kW Fortress inverter, whole home backup, 200 amp internal transfer switch, and an 18.5 kilowatt hour Evault. Estimated price $30,000 minus the 30% federal tax credit to the homeowner leaves an investment of $20,000. All right. So now what we got to do is figure out how many lifetime kilowatt hours. Forget the throughput. I don't like going that. I told you why. Let's focus on daily deliverance.
Yep.
And max life cycles delivered. at as much capacity as possible.
That's right.
So that would be 8,000 life cycles, 8,000 folks times 18.5 kilowatt hours for the battery equals 148,000 lifetime kilowatt hours delivered by the Fortress Evault 18.5 and under this scenario.
That's right.
We're assuming, by the way, that the 18.5 is 20% larger than the customer's daily need. This is at 80% depth of discharge. Want to throw in that caveat.
Yep.
So if we've got 148,000 lifetime kilowatt hours, we want to take the $20,000 upfront investment, which is, it's $30,000, but minus the 30% federal tax credit, $20,000 divided by 148,000 lifetime kilowatt hours locks your customer in at 13 cents per a kilowatt hour over the next 8,000 cycles, which is, what is that? 8,000 divided by 365, 21.91 years of life.
That's right. Start looking at the calculator now.
So 21.91 years of life, basically 22 years of life. Your customer is going to be locked in, assuming all of the energy inputs correct and that we actually sized it 20% larger than their daily need and the PV array sizing's correct and the energy usage doesn't change, lots of variables, but assuming all that's correct, that math just showed us that for 22 years of life, your customer would be locked in at 13 cents a kilowatt hour versus what they're paying. Say PG&E is like, what, 32 cents or
33, 32, that's right.
Yeah.
And if they put an escalator on that in that same time frame, imagine the cost of utility power that you're purchasing. It's going to be 40, 42 cents in the next, let's say, 10 years, in the same time frame of what you would purchase that investment of a battery backup or battery system in general, let's say.
Right. Let's figure out the payoff too. So
right.
if we're paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour, the homeowner from the utility, what that would be, and let's say that they got a 10 kW array times 5, that means that's offsetting 50 kilowatt hours per day. So 30 cents times 50, that's $15 per day.
That's right.
$15 per day times 365. That's $5,475 a year at 30 something cents a kilowatt hour. Again, it could accelerate.
No escalator, that's right.
It could go higher. We're being very conservative here.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's see what that costs per year. Now let's go ahead and take the 13 cents. 13 cents times 50 kilowatt hours per day. That costs $6.50 per day times 365. That's $2,372.50 a year. So if you take the $5,475 minus the $2,372.50 of the battery system cost, your customer's going to save $3,102.50 a year of average savings. Let's
multiply that by 10 years.
So if you take the cost of that system, which is $20K, right? 20,000.
Yep.
Divided by 3102.50.
Yep.
That's 6.44 years. So that's about 6.5 years roughly.
Right.
And then you're even Steven.
That's right.
But then after that, you're locked in at 13 cents a kilowatt hour for the remainder. So let's call that 7 years. If you're at 21 point, you still got about 15 years of being locked in at 13 cents a kilowatt hour.
That's right. That's right.
So now you're making money.
Yeah.
At
you
that
are
point.
your own utility. You are benefiting, and you're receiving a net positive rather than a net negative in that kind of investment. Power is more important now than it's ever been before. whether it's you're protecting your home and family against a natural disaster, or if you want to make a buck because utility rates are rising, your math, I think, was very well done and explained very clearly. And for the folks out there listening to the Beyond Emissions podcast, rerun the math. This is information you can find online. It's public information. This is nothing special that Josh and I have done here besides doing a Google search. These are things you can do on your own time. Education is power.
Yeah, you don't need a software program. How long did that take us with a calculator?
5 minutes? If that?
In 5 minutes.
Right.
We figured out the cost of both options. We figured out the savings. We figured out the payoff period, and how quickly the ROI. I mean, is that a bad ROI for solar? If I was just straight solar under NEM2, under the old plan, what would the payoff normally be with no battery, just normal solar NEM2? About six years, right?
Depending on where you are, it's usually 6 to 7 years. NEM3 is, as you know, changing your surplus rate from like 43 cents to I think 7 cents. So you could do even more math in this instance and take that delta and then use that delta to figure out solar only payback and solar and storage payback. A lot of the times, solar and storage payback is more aggressive, and if the grid goes out because of a public safety power shutoff, your solar doesn't stop producing, right? You still have lights on in your home.
That's huge. That's huge. Wow. So in all reality, storage, Fortress Power with us, Alex Lepore. Thank you for being here and going through this math exercise.
Of course.
I love math.
Same.
I am such a nerd. I love it. Math is everything. It's energy in versus energy out in this business. That's what it's all about. There's no other way to look at it. And if you invest in figuring out the math, by the way, you're not alone. Email me today, storage@soligent.net. That's storage@soligent.net. Also as well, don't forget our friend Nate over at netelectric.biz that stopped on by today. If you're in the Oakland area, the Bay Area, email info@netelectric.biz or give Nate and his team a call, 866-334-2400. Thanks so much, Nate, for stopping by. That's what he's doing at the kitchen table with his customers, educating them on that new ROI using NEM3. And I think we just figured out, using a calculator in less than 5 minutes, the ROI for storage plus solar using the 12K inverter from Fortress, whole home backup inverter. By the way, all this available at Soligent. 18.5 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate Evault battery and a 10 kW PV array, assuming $2 per a watt installed. I mean, I could be off on that, so forgive me if my math was wrong on some of the input there, but the goal was to show the exercise. I think we're correct, right?
I believe so. I think you're right in that the module cost could vary, right? The module cost could vary depending on what kind of module you're using, but I think generally the concept of the math you did is exactly spot on. And so I would urge folks, reach out to Soligent, reach out to Fortress Power. You can email us directly to sales@fortresspower.com. We are battery experts that have been around for over 5 years and were founded in 2016. This is something we're very familiar with, these sorts of discussions, whether you're an installer or an end user just trying to learn a little bit more about this battery wave.
Well, we went into the ROI conversation, NEM3 in California specifically, showing how using storage and Fortress Power solutions available right here at Soligent, just using some math in less than 5 minutes, how that works to get that return on investment for your customer. It really does work. We just figured it out. Now let's go into the conversation about off-grid.
Okay.
Off-grid's a whole nother animal.
Absolutely.
I mean, whole home backup can be put into that as well, because someone wants their house backed up as though they're living off the grid, basically, or total self-consumption, what have you. Off-grid, you cannot use averages. You've got to use max kilowatt hours used on a max use day. I'll give my 2 cents on that, but I'd like to hear your opinion. Again, Alex Lepore, Fortress Power, here with us today, available at Soligent. Click on the link below to find out more. Alex, talk about that. Obviously an ROI under NEM3. Let's go into some of the details that we're discussing regarding off-grid customers and energy storage.
Off-grid is such an interesting idea. It is in essence that idea of what Fortress Power was founded upon, creating and maintaining energy independence, right? There are more and different considerations when sizing and designing renewable-based systems, batteries, solar, wind, hydro, when living off the grid, right? Because you don't have the utility backup there. There is, if you run out of battery power because of poor sizing and designing, unless you have a generator plug into that system, you don't have power. You can't cook up some pancakes on your griddle because you don't have power. So I always recommend, you talked about that adding 20% approach, and off the grid, I apply that to every project, right? They say, hey, we use this much power, we add 20% onto that. They say, well, why is it more? Well, we don't want you to be sitting here without any power in the event that, let's say, you turn all of your loads on at once, right? So it's not quite as simple as looking at a utility bill, seeing what that usage is, and crunching the numbers. It's a lifestyle. It's homesteading as a lifestyle that requires due diligence as a end user, along with as an installer, whether it be as a homeowner, how do I use my power? How do I avoid using too much power? And as an installer, how do I size it for this off-grid customer, understanding this is the only source of power supply that they have.
You nailed it. Off-grid, you've got to have max kilowatt hours used on a max use day. It's vital. So here's what we need. By the way, we can help you with this. If you have an off-grid customer, email me, storage@soligent.net. That's storage@soligent.net. Here's how we do it. What I need is one of two things. If a customer already figures out and compiles all this together, great. Just give me the max kilowatt hours used on a max use day. Really, that's what I need to know for any project of any type. What is the max kilowatt hours of usable energy this customer might need per their goals on a max use day, but focusing primarily on off-grid power. Off-grid power, you nailed it. There is no grid. You've got your solar, you've got your battery system, and you got your PV array, and your battery system are really synonymous, working together hand in hand, but the sun's not always shining, so you have to have a generator included as well. That's potentially, right? Or oversize your PV and have additional battery capacity for multiple days of autonomy, multiple different goals there for different off-grid customers. But at the end of the day, what we need is a load evaluation. We need a list of the name and wattage of every electrical load that you want to run and how many hours or minutes each of those loads might run on a max use day. And telling me, well, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, we use this span 3 to 8 hours. Okay, then I'm going to pick 8 hours for a max use day. So at the end of the day, we've got to have you do that homework as an installer. It's not going to be as easy as what traditional solar sales are. If you've got an off-grid customer, it requires extra work. It requires you tell the customer, oh, I'm sorry, I can't guess that. I need you to fill this in and be specific. Oh, okay, 6 to 8 hours. Okay, we're going to go with 8. Why 8? Because that's the day when that load is being used the most. Right. And again, there is no grid. It's off-grid. No. Hence the name off-grid, right? For those of you in Rio Linda, you got to remember that off-grid means that you are on your own. Like Alex mentioned earlier, you don't have another power source. And so you've got to size for max hours on a max use day, max kilowatt hours on a max use day. So how many hours or minutes might each of those loads you list run on a max use day? Then compile all that together to figure out total kilowatt hours used on a max use day. Then you add up all of the KW of all of the loads that might be on potentially at one time. Because you might have a well pump that has a motor load of 3 times the draw of all of your other loads. Or there may be other variables like 3-phase, etc. You've got to know about all of that, and it requires additional research and digging in and asking those questions. And that helps you size your inverter. The max kilowatt hours on a max use day helps you size your PV array and your battery. And what you do is you basically take that kilowatt hours of use on a max use day And by the way, we're at the Sacramento grand opening, 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125, Sacramento Soligent Warehouse in Sacramento, celebrating a grand opening today.
We're live here.
Is this
Great.
cool?
It's fantastic.
You can hear the trucks in the background backing up, loading up their solar panels and their Fortress Power batteries.
That's right.
Alex Lepore from Fortress Power with us. So, Alex, do you mind if we run through a fake system again? If we pretend that we're dealing with an off-grid customer?
I wanted to add, if you're tuning into the Beyond Emissions podcast and you're a do-it-yourselfer and you want to give this thing a go and you want to try it out, that's definitely something that Fortress or Soligent can support you on. And you may be wondering, well, Josh, that's great. I go around my home, I find out what the loads are. How do I know how much power they're pulling, right? Typically on a lot of your electrical loads, they're going to have that little sticker. That little sticker is going to tell you amperages of those loads. If it's a well pump, that sticker on the well pump is going to tell you how many amps it takes in a continuous draw and how many amps it takes in a surge draw, right? Both of those are that's the values you need to size that battery system. So to your point, we're going to go through this exercise now, and then we're going to go from Alex Lepore's off-grid home. I'm going to say, okay, we have a blender because I like smoothies. That takes 3 amps over 30 minutes, right, a day if I'm blending a very big smoothie. Then multiply that by 7, that's a week, and then multiply that by 52 in a sense. But let's see what you have in mind.
Sure. So I like to do everything day by day by day.
Gotcha.
And the reason why is because everybody's living day by day. Hopefully the battery systems are being charged back up every single day.
Yep.
And so what I like to do as an example, and by the way, if you're looking at you don't know what a load's wattage is, then it's amps times volts equals watts. So you would take that 3 amp draw times 120.
Right.
And then, so what is that? 360 watts
That's right.
of load as an example. But I digress. As we go down the math, let's do some pretending.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that your customer's max usage, we're going to make it easy, is 10 kilowatt hours. It's a little tiny cabin.
Perfect.
They don't use a lot of power. A lot of off-grid customers are going to be that way.
That's right.
So let's assume that it's 10 kilowatt hours of use on a max use day. So the first thing I'm going to do is in off-grid sizing is I'm going to size the battery system. So a lot of people make the mistake. They size the PV array first,
right?
But then they ignore all of the inefficiencies of all of the different parts, and then that ends up taxing and not charging the battery enough.
That's right.
So if you do the battery sizing first and you oversize for the depth of discharge, and I'll get to that in just a moment, that can account for those inefficiencies, and then you can figure out the PV array.
Right. Because
those inefficiencies will end up short charging the battery every day, causing a walk down. Not harming it, it's lithium iron phosphate, but do you want 80% or 90% of your battery available every day, or 100%, right?
Right.
So what we do is we take the 10 kilowatt hours of this pretend load evaluation, Alex Lepore's off-grid cabin.
Yep.
Alex Lepore here with us at the Beyond Emissions podcast from Fortress Power. Thanks so much for being at our
it's my pleasure,
Sacramento grand
it's
opening.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm telling you, those Paquitas MexicanGrill.com tacos, phenom.
They had it. They had the secret sauce over there.
Oh, I got red and green.
Did you? You got a little Christmas in there?
I love it.
I think I got green only, but man, was it good.
It was spicy, but I can handle it. I'm from Visalia, Fresno area, so I can handle it. Okay, so Alex, your pretend off-grid cabin, it's 10 kilowatt hours of use on a max use day. You've done a load evaluation, your microwave, your fan, your whatever you got, your lights, your well pump, your blender for your smoothies, whatever it might be, right? Margaritas more likely, my friend.
Cannot confirm nor deny.
So 10 kilowatt hours is what we've tabulated in this pretend load evaluation. So now what we want to do is the battery first. So what did I say earlier? If we want to be at 80% depth of discharge, take 10 divided by 0.8, which increases it by 20, and that equals 12.5 kilowatt hours. So we need 12.5 kilowatt hours of total energy storage minimum.
Yes, sir.
We can go more.
Absolutely.
I mean, for this, it would just make sense. Do like 3 of your 5.4 kilowatt hour Eflexes, which are really easy to parallel together. They're outside rated, IP65. They can get rained on. I mean, there's some advantages there. Or maybe just, one of the Evault 18.5 kilowatt hour Fortress Power batteries inside of the cabin. I mean, both of those could be great options. But for math's sake, you need at least a bare minimum of 12.5 kilowatt hours of energy storage in order for that battery to be sized at 80% depth of discharge. All right, so now let's say we went with 3 of the 5.4 kilowatt hour batteries. That's 5.4 times 3. That's 16.2, so we're oversizing it just a bit, which is fine because there are some inefficiencies here.
There are.
So 16.2 kilowatt hours of total storage. Now, how do we size the PV array? Well, your hours of peak sun may differ where you live. It might depend on where you're at. But I'll do divided by 5. Is that okay with you?
I used to divide by 3, but divide by 5 I think is a very fair, because you can always add more PV, and it depends on, if we're doing a small off-grid cabin, do you have the space, right? Do you have the space for these larger solar systems? So I think 5 would be more appropriate because of, we're assuming a small home somewhere.
It varies. I mean, my gosh, you might have a cabin in Alaska and you might want to, go ice fishing, when they have 2 hours of sun every day, and so you need to size this for a different way. But we'll base it on 5 hours of peak sunlight average, okay? And forgive me, this wind is just brutal today here, but it's actually not that bad. I like how it's cooling us off almost.
Yeah.
On a nice, beautiful, sunny day here in Sacramento. 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125, Soligent, grand opening at our warehouse. Alex Lepore from Fortress Power here. All right, so 12.5 kilowatt hours needed. We're going to say it's 16.2 if we're going to use 3 of your 5.4 kilowatt hour Eflex batteries. 16.2 kilowatt hours. Okay, divided by 5. 16.2 divided by 5. 3.24 kW, and if you increase for inefficiencies, that might be upwards of 4 kW, let's say. So 3.5 to 4 kW of PV array needed. Got a 16.2 kW Fortress Power battery system with 3 of the 5.4 kilowatt hour Eflex batteries.
Yes, sir.
And then we go with a smaller inverter size because we don't really need that. If you only got a 3.24, say 4 kW PV array, you don't need a gigantic inverter.
No way.
So, I mean, you can get away with a smaller inverter, maybe an Outback Power, like a 3.6.
That's right. I'm going to recommend the same, or Schneider has a smaller inverter. It's a 4 kW inverter, I believe. So that would be another, for the small system. You can take a look at that too.
And the Fortress Eflex batteries, they work well they play well with other inverters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So right then and there, we figured out with this fake system that you just, that we made up out of thin air.
Yeah.
Alex Lepore's fake hunting cabin. Pretending that you're using 10 kilowatt hours max on a max use day from the fake pretend load evaluation we did.
Right.
And we did the math and we figured out 3 of the 5.4 kilowatt hour Eflex batteries from Fortress Power, about just under 4 kW PV array would suffice. Mm-hmm. And, Outback 3.6 kW inverter, or maybe a Schneider 4 kW. And you're good to go. With the Outback, maybe get like an FP1 VFXR 3648A-01 or something like that. So it's 3.6 kW for the inverter. You got your charge controller pre-wired in there with the Mate 3, the hub, FNDC, all that good stuff. You're really good to go now at this point, right?
Yeah, the only thing you'd want to consider is additions onto that system if you add more load to your home. So at my hunting cabin, maybe I had done a preliminary math analysis and had seen 10 kilowatt hours. 6 months later, my imaginary children, I do not have children, my imaginary children start coming up to the cabin, right? We get a TV, we get some extra loads in there. You want to stay on top of it, right? It's as easy as it is to just install and forget, which is what we hope for a lot of the time because it is easier. Especially when you're living off the grid, you want to keep your finger on the pulse of what am I doing, how am I using this, And that way you can add on to that system 6 months down the road, 8 months down the road, whatever that is, whatever I, Alex Lepore's hunting cabin, would need in that instance.
Alex Lepore, Fortress Power, here with us today at the Sacramento Warehouse grand opening, 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125 in Sacramento. Tacos, refreshments, and lots of math. No, I hope this math was helpful for you folks who are listening right now. We figured out how to figure out the lifetime per kilowatt hour cost to get the return on investment if your customer's grid tied, and that's their goal. How do you figure that out? We showed you today. In addition, if you have an off-grid customer and you want to utilize some Fortress Power energy storage solutions available here at Soligent, the math that it takes to figure that out, it's a load evaluation. It's all energy in versus energy out. I can't believe it. It's been almost an hour. We're coming up on our hard break. Wow. This is a lot of fun.
Time flies when you're having fun, Josh. And I really, and every time I come on the Beyond the Missions podcast, I love the mind share that we both have of what's important, how can we help others. And that's why I love and always ask you, Josh, when's my next time coming on the Beyond the Missions podcast? Because I think the vision of it is just wonderful, truly.
Thank you, and thank you for your partnership. Fortress Power batteries are in stock here at the new Sacramento Warehouse, 1790 Bell Avenue. Coquise took me on a tour and said, here's our Fortress Power batteries. So we have them in stock, man, ready to deliver, or will call at 1790 Bell Avenue, Suite 125 in Sacramento. Warehouses across the nation, though, with Fortress Power solutions in stock. And, it doesn't end here. If you want us to work with this math, work on this math with you, train your team, Fortress Power, Alex Lepore, willing to do a one-on-one training for you and your team, your customers even.
Right.
We'll set up a Zoom call, whatever it takes. You can email me to set that up and schedule it at storage@soligent.net. That's storage@soligent.net. Alex, thanks so much for coming on. Thanks for your support, being out here, the tacos, the fun at our Sacramento Warehouse grand opening, and thank you for your partnership from Fortress Power.
Josh, I am so thrilled to be here, and thank you for everything, for putting this great, fantastic event together. I'll just look forward to the next one. Hope I get an invite.
Awesome. Absolutely you will. We appreciate you, man. By the way, SPI in Las Vegas, Solar Power International, Top Golf. We're going to have a major party, and you are a sponsor.
That's right.
With us here at Soligent. We're going to be taking our installer partners that are listening right now, our customers that do installations out there, work hard all year long. They're coming to SPI because of what you guys are doing, along with Solark being a co-host there.
That's right.
And being a sponsor with us at Soligent. Top Golf. We're renting out the entire, third floor. It's going to be off the chains, right?
It's going to be bananas, but I am definitely looking forward to that. That is, I believe, the last week in September, Las Vegas, the Top Golf event. Hit us up for details.
That's right. I love it. A hole-in-one.
Yeah.
With Soligent and Fortress.
That was good.
I know.
That was good.
On the fly, right? Thank you, Alex. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, real quick, how can folks reach out to you directly?
Yep, they can either call our line, 877-497-6937, or if you prefer email, sales@fortresspower.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Alex Lepore, Fortress Power, valued partner here at Soligent. And again, we also want to thank our customers, especially Nathan. Thank you so much, Nate, for stopping by at the beginning of the broadcast from Net Electric in the Oakland Bay Area, netelectric.biz. You can email them info@netelectric.biz, B-I-Z. That's info@netelectric.biz, or give Nate and his team a call to find out more about storage and solar under NEM 3 and solutions for you in the Bay Area. Give Nate and his team a call at Net Electric, 866-334-2400. We couldn't do it without you. The installers and the solar companies out there that are making this happen and bringing these solutions to our customers, empowering us to create this world that is beyond emissions. Thanks for listening. More to come just around the corner right here at the Beyond Emissions podcast by Soligent, the largest pure-play solar distributor in the Americas.
We at Soligent are incredibly excited to announce our partnership with Give Power. But we wouldn't be here today talking to you about Give Power if it wasn't for our partners, LoanPal. They've been with Give Power since the beginning. Their contribution has given water and light to countless people across the globe. We are truly inspired by LoanPal's dedication to the cause. Something LoanPal said really strikes a chord regarding Give Power, that this is something that's more than money. It's what makes making money more worthwhile. In a lot of ways, that's synonymous with what we're doing here at Soligent.
Here's how you can help.
What we've decided to do is compound LoanPal's contribution by donating to Give Power on every order paid via our direct pay program through LoanPal. That's right. Every time your company uses your LoanPal portal to pay Soligent for material, 5 people get clean drinking water for a full year.
Together we're stronger.
Together, we can choose to be extraordinary by giving to people who live outside our reach. To us, this means a lot more.
Soligent's purpose meets Give Power's mission. Join the impact. Soligent, Solar Engine. SolarEngineSolutions.com. Go there to find out more.